Welcome to Frankly Speaking here on WYDC TV Big Fox. I'm your host, Frank Acom. We are broadcasting live from the Hesselson studio here on Marcus Street in Corning. The big news this morning, Israel has hit back at Iran in a retaliatory strike. That is the breaking news. We'll get into it a little bit further in the program, but they were targeting a nuclear research facility and major air bases is what is being reported as of this morning. They started on Friday morning, according to multiple reports. Israeli missiles hit at least one site in Iran, is what ABC News has reported, citing U.S. officials and Iranian state media alerted citizens to explosions heard in the central part of the Islamic Republic. Israel's early morning retaliatory strike, however, appeared to be limited, is what a military source told Fox News. Israeli officials notified the U.S. on Thursday that it had planned to strike Iran within 24 to 48 hours. The Biden administration, quote, didn't endorse Israel's response. As a matter of fact, and this should come as no surprise, and as I said, we're going to get into it a little bit later on. And if you see any breaking news, let me know. I'll be checking throughout the morning as well. But NBC found it an opportunity to blame Israel, as is the case for whatever reason by many in the media. Israel may have made deeply destabilizing move for Iran and whole region by striking back. That's according to NBC News foreign correspondent Matt Bradley on MSNBC's 11th Hour. I'm not going to get into everything he said, but not really a surprise with the blame Israel and the victim blaming, as we saw with the arrest of the protesters at Columbia University. We'll be talking about that. Another breaking news story as you're just waking up, not to hit you from all sides, but budget voting has begun in Albany. We'll give you updates on that, what that means. I don't know. We'll dive into it as much as we possibly can. But that's not where I wanted to start this morning. I just wanted to make sure that you had all the breaking news as you woke up and joined us this morning. But the budget voting did start in Albany. It happened in the early hours Thursday morning with the previously approved debt services bill. 4 out of 10 budget bills are set over 2 weeks after the original April 1st deadline. You may have already been aware of it, but wanted to mention it. All right, so yesterday we received some comments after the program, and I wanted to get to them. Number one, we had a good discussion yesterday, and I'll pose the question again this morning. Your thoughts on Marjorie Taylor Greene? Well, this viewer's thoughts on Marjorie Taylor Greene, I really don't know what to say. I'm conflicted somewhat. I agree with much of what she appears to be about, and then I think she is showboating and over the top, and then again, is she? She may be the very thing that we need, an ankle-biting pit bull who won't back down and cave like so many have done before as we continue to move a little farther left or of left center every year, in my opinion. A good points raised there. I've tried to be completely neutral. I will say I think sometimes there's, to the point about showboating, I think there's times to pick and choose your battles. I'm not saying back down. I'm saying, the old expression, is this the hill you want to die on? There are definitely some times where you say, good, go for the fight. There's others I'm not sure they're beneficial. I don't believe the fight against Mike Johnson before election is the wisest decision. I think it gives the media an opportunity to again focus on what they call the chaos of the House Republicans. And remember, where the major goal here is, as I think Liz Peek said yesterday, and that's how this whole conversation got started. Liz Peek saying that she's destroying the GOP, meaning Marjorie Taylor Greene. Her closing argument was, our number one goal is to get Trump elected. And I would add on there, and she may have put it in there, get the majority in the House and perhaps the Senate. And I don't believe causes like this help to that end. Now, Representative Mike Lawler, he's a Republican out of New York. He's been, I don't know, would you say more moderate? But he was on CNN's Anderson Cooper 360. Just to add on to this conversation. This is not my opinion in any way, shape, or form. I'm just adding on to this conversation with Marjorie Taylor Greene and that kind of disruptive group. Host Anderson Cooper said, do you believe this foreign aid bill will pass in the next few days? And if so, do you think Speaker Johnson will be Speaker much longer? Lawler said, yes, the foreign aid bill will pass. It must pass. The United States has an obligation as leader of the free world to support our allies at the most critical juncture and to make it clear to our adversaries that we will not tolerate their actions and what they have done to undermine and destabilize the free world. This is not about partisan politics. This is about the future of the world and America's role in it. I think we have to focus on the task at hand. Obviously, I understand frustration of some of my colleagues. I agree with the need for border security. Okay, now this is the reason I bring it up. I would remind folks, many of the people complaining right now voted against that continuing resolution prior to vacating Speaker McCarthy. So some of these folks have nobody to blame but themselves for why Speaker Johnson's hand in negotiations has been weakened. It's their action that have done that. I look at this very simply. In October, the House was thrown into chaos by Matt Gaetz and 7 useful idiots that teamed up with him within the Republican conference and 208 Democrats. And at this moment, when you see what happened in the aftermath of vacating the chair and Israel attacked in a terrorist attack a week later, to do that again would be detrimental to the country and global security. So just adding on to that conversation that we had on Friday, and I'd love to have you weigh in. You see the number on the bottom of the screen. I already received a couple of waves this morning. To Johnson's point, and we could talk more about him. I don't plan on it that much this morning because we have so much to get to. I didn't even mention we're going to hear from Mark Watts. He's the president of the Chemung County Fair. We're going to find out about the changes coming to the fair and also what you can do to help this summer. So that's coming up in the 7 o'clock hour. We also have a really nice video that I wanted to share from you that features Assemblyman Phil Palmisano, because this is Donate Life Month, and you know that is a topic that's very dear to him. He's mentioned it on the program numerous times, and there's a very nice video that I'll be playing a little bit later on. But back to Johnson. Johnson won't change the rules over removing him from speakership after this revolt. Since the beginning of the 118th Congress, the House rule allowing a motion to vacate from a single member has harmed this office and our House majority, Johnson wrote on Twitter. Recently, many members have encouraged me to endorse a new rule to raise this threshold. While I understand the importance of that idea, any rule change requires a majority of the full House, which we do not have. We will continue to govern under the existing rule. So again, posing the question as we did yesterday. Is this helpful? Marjorie Taylor Greene's, as CNN put it there, revolt. As you know, if you've watched this program for any amount of time, we are more than happy to read all sides of the discussion and stay neutral here at the head seat. Another comment from the viewer. As for Katie Couric, now if you recall, Katie Couric went on a rant on Bill Maher's show, very reminiscent of Hillary Clinton's deplorable comments. Well, this viewer reminded us about something that happened in the past. Couric, as you may recall, I believe in 2021, she remarked that if you questioned the election outcome, you may need to be deprogrammed, and referenced Trump cult members. So insulting and arrogant. Yeah, it is the elitist mentality in the media. This is what happens when you live in a bubble. I know I said it yesterday, but Katie Couric, I would be shocked if Katie Couric is friends or even knows someone that voted for Trump. The same goes for so many in the media. Going to NPR, which we will talk about here in a little bit, the bias in NPR is very glaring. But it's also very glaring at the major legacy media outlets as well. And so when you see someone like Couric say this, that's what she thinks about the American people. The American people that don't live on the coasts or don't live in the Washington media bubble where everybody is like-minded, everybody voted for Hillary, everybody voted for Biden, and you can go back further, but those are the most recent against Trump, and everybody also hates Trump. So what she said is not controversial in her mind, that Trump supporters are jealous, they're anti-intellectual. She doesn't understand the elitist mentality that she and so many like her have is what led, and we had a piece about that yesterday, what led to the ultimate victory of Trump in 2016 where he was talking, and this is his words, to the forgotten men and women. And it resonated. That's another reason why the media kicks themselves, because it did resonate. And they hated Trump so much, they thought he was a clown. They thought it was a hilarious joke to play his rallies and show, because remember, they hated him, and everybody probably hated him in their mind, that to show just how ridiculous these rallies are. So they were playing them constantly, if you recall, back in 2016. And all of a sudden, people that may not have thought much of Trump, not politically or whatever, just thought, well, this is a sideshow, all of a sudden said, wait a minute, this kind of resonates with me, with what he's saying. And so they still say that they gave him too much coverage, and that's why my theory is they won't be playing the rallies. They'll be saying they can't give him the platform for his lies. That's what they always say. But I know I'm going on quite a few early morning tangents this morning, but we had a lot of breaking news, and we also had a lot of great comments. Keep those comments coming in. You see the number on the bottom of the screen, 607-358-3131. We have so many issues to get to this morning, so I don't want to forget. I will take a short break, and then we'll jump into a little bit about NPR. We're not going to focus a lot on it. I do want to talk about the quote-unquote protests, the anti-Israel protests at Columbia being shut down. Do you wonder if it's because of the president there? And I'm going to read a comment from her, and I'll pose this question early too. Do you think she decided to crack down because her congressional hearing went so poorly? Timing was very interesting to me on that. Maybe we'll talk about that as well. So stay with us. We'll be right back with Frankly Speaking here on WYDC TV, Big Fox.
Isn't your wellness important? Don't you want more energy? Now's the best time to make every day better and relieve those achy muscles and pains than with the Hesselsen's Hot Tub. Hesselsen's has hot tubs in stock and available for immediate delivery with unbelievable savings. Hesselsen's offers 0% interest-free financing for up to 5 full years. Hesselsen's carries the only hot tub brand in the industry with the exclusive freshwater salt system that is eco-friendly and easy to use and only enhances your hot tubbing experience. Come in today and see why your next hot tub should be a Hesselsen's hot tub. And remember, it's always fun to poke in the corners at Hesselsen's.
Welcome to the heart of your home, made whole by Best Look Paint and Primer. With bold hues and subtle tones, transform any surface into a canvas of beauty and make your vision come to life effortlessly. And as the seasons change, trust Cabot State.
The world's pizza has been baked in ovens made of stone, but you can't put one of those on the countertop in your home. Introducing Paisano, the authentic pizza oven by Granite Stone. Now make the world's most delicious pizza with real stone right in your own home. You simply set it and let it make golden, crispy, extra cheesy stone-baked pies in under 6 minutes. The secret is the dual-controlled heat zones that quickly heat the real ceramic stone up to 800 degrees so you can stone bake just like the pros. Plus, there's no gas, wood, or charcoal needed. Paisano is electric, plug-in, and portable. You can get your Paisano pizza oven for just 4 easy payments of $39.99. And we're going to drop one payment. You get it all for just 3 easy payments of $39.99. Plus, we'll ship your entire order free.
Call 1-800-597-7208 or order online at buypaisano.com. Call now.
Our beautiful view of Market Street here at 6:14 in the morning. Welcome back to Frankly Speaking, as we broadcast live from the Hesselson studio. Quickly, I wanted to mention this. We had so much breaking news in the morning. If you're not aware, Israel did retaliate against Iran with a very limited strike. They hit back. I like that term better. targeting nuclear research facility and major air bases is what is being reported as of right now. So we did have breaking news, but I wanted to mention this. We lost Dickie Betts, the Allman Brothers guitarist. He has passed away at the age of 80. I had the pleasure of seeing him a few times in concert, and it's still amazing. Right up until, I want to say there was a retirement-ish around 2018 when he had some major health issues. In an Instagram post, his family said, "It is with profound sadness and heavy hearts that the Betts family announced the peaceful passing of Forrest Richard Dickie Betts at the age of 80 years old." The legendary performer, songwriter, bandleader, and family patriarch passed away earlier today at his home in Osprey, Florida. Surrounded by his family, Dickie was larger than life, and his loss will be felt worldwide. Betts, along with the Allman Brothers Band, were introduced into the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame back in 1995. So I just wanted to mention that quickly before we got into some other issues of the day, in case you had not heard. I know we have a lot of music fans out there, so I wanted to pass it along to you. This NPR story just gets more interesting by the day. And I know for many of you who've probably never even listened to NPR, and I can't blame you, myself somewhat included, I have caught sometimes flipping through the stations. But NPR chief Catherine Mayer funded Stacey Abrams' election denial. Can someone who donated to an organization spreading falsehoods about stolen elections be the CEO of a credible news organization? Well, isn't that one of the things that they tried to say about Ronna McDaniel, because she questioned the election results in 2020? That's why she couldn't be on NBC. But imagine what it would say about NBC's News 2024 election coverage if it were discovered network president Kim Godwin had donated to Donald Trump after January 6th. The journalism world would have a fit, and Godwin wouldn't last a day in the job. Well, National Public Radio CEO Catherine Mayer is a donor to Stacey Abrams' election-denying political action committee, Fair Fight. Abrams, as you may recall, spiraled down a conspiracy rabbit hole after losing Georgia's 2018 gubernatorial race. Mayer donated $500 to Fair Fight PAC in 2020, her second largest donation among 19 to Democrats and their allies between 2016 and 2022. The donation came after, keep this in mind, Abrams refused to concede the governor's race, which, by the way, she never actually did concede. 2, Abrams concocted false allegations about voting machines switching votes, and Abrams' PAC filed a bogus lawsuit contesting the election. That was all done before Miss Mayer donated to this super PAC. Now, Dana Kennedy puts it this way. Hot seat heats up for NPR CEO Catherine Mayer, and her life is the ultimate woke elite bingo card. This is a piece at the New York Post, and I would highly recommend, if you have a moment, and this is something that interests you, to look over the piece. Here it is, and that's her if you're not familiar. If woke elite bingo was a game, Catherine Mayer would take the top prize. The controversial new CEO of NPR, who has only been on the job since March 25th, is already at the center of a firestorm that began when veteran NPR reporter and editor Yuri Berliner wrote a Free Press essay critical of the network's increasingly hard left bias. We know about that. We've been talking about that on the program. But to begin with, she lives where else? In progressive Park Slope in Brooklyn. They bought her and her husband bought the 3-bedroom brownstone for $2.7 million last fall. Her LinkedIn ticks off every possible far-left box. Stints at Wikimedia, the World Economic Forum, Stanford University, the Council on Foreign Relations, the Atlantic Council, and UNICEF, as well as forays into high finance at HSBC and the World Bank prior to joining NPR in January. It reveals that she called Donald Trump a deranged racist sociopath, and a dream in which, and this is on some of her tweets, and a dream in which Mayer and Vice President Harris were sampling and comparing nuts and baklava on roadside stands. This lady is something, let me tell you. It's all the terms that you think are maybe only used in really weird circles in the cities is pretty much what is how she talks. Conservatives have had a field day unearthing Mayer's vast archive of over-the-top neo-Marxist tweets in a now infamous TED Talk in which she said that a reverence for the truth is a distraction. So she's one of these people, and you've seen it in your life in the political world, that how do I want to put it? That, well, an elitist that thinks she knows more than perhaps she does because she lives in a bubble. She doesn't see the real struggles out there. Also someone that wants to use all the buzzwords to stay relevant and hip and cool. It's kind of a perfect storm with this lady. So she wanted to go on and have one of those quotes on this TED Talk that would just blow people out of the water, really make them think. And when people shoot for that, it normally comes off very poorly, like in this case. Quote, perhaps for our most tricky disagreements, seeking the truth and seeking to convince others of the truth might not be the right place to start. In fact, our reverence for the truth might be a distraction that's getting in the way of finding common ground and getting things done. So that is a quick view of what the CEO of NPR believes, that the truth is a distraction. Will you be going to NPR for your election coverage? There's the question. How about that? I don't want to, like I said, I don't want to focus on this all morning. Just worth mentioning, I think, in passing, because it goes to show you once again, well, this is just an example of the bias being called out. So frequently in the media, it's accepted, unfortunately, that there's the bias, but not called out. The problem with NPR, and you know this because we've been bringing it up on the show, but your money's going to it, my money's going to it, and you're saying I never donated to them. No, it's tax dollars. And so the bias is at the forefront, and now people are questioning, why are we giving them so much in taxpayers' dollars? And I will say, from my limited experience with what I know about NPR and working in media for so long, NPR, taxpayer funded, never lacks for the best equipment, best technology. So maybe something to look at. And I don't know what will be done. I don't know if this is just one of those quick stories in the media and things will move on. Time will tell. Now, we are going to talk about the cops storming Columbia, busting 108 anti-Israel protesters. We're going to tell you the response to that. If you are just joining us, Israel has pushed back, hit back at Iran in a retaliatory strike targeting nuclear research facilities and major air bases. If you tuned in because you wanted to talk about Taylor Swift's new album, you came to the wrong place. I'm sorry. You're more than welcome to comment on that. I do not believe I would have enough time to read those comments, but you can go elsewhere for the wall-to-wall news coverage of Taylor Swift's album. We've got a lot to talk about. Stay with us. As I mentioned, Mark Watts from the Sherman County Fair coming up in just a little bit. That really amazing video from Assemblyman Phil Palmisano. Also, a couple announcements from Congressman Nick Langworthy that came out yesterday. We'll get to those as well. So some local issues, some state issues. We'll try to talk about the budget, what we're learning about the budget as of right now. I know Governor Hochul is taking, I'm not going to say victory lap, but saying that when it comes to retail theft, real big win, that penalty, which was, remember, pushed back by Hasty, who does not believe stricter penalties are a deterrent. Well, he pushed back against stricter penalties for people that attack retail workers. Well, luckily, I don't know, leveler heads prevailed, and it sounds like, according to Hochul, who is, as we know, kind of quick to claim victory, as she said the budget deal was not done on Monday, but she says that will now be a felony. But we'll talk about that later on, so stay with us. This is Frankly Speaking here on WYDC TV, Big Fox.
You just have to get in the seat of a John Deere 3 Series tractor. Not because of the powerful implements, or because of our unmatched dealer support. Not even because it's in it for the long haul. You just have to get in the seat because being this efficient just feels good.
Right now, get 0% financing for 72 months on a John Deere 1, 2, or 3 Series compact tractor.
Are you over 50? Would you like to get up to 33% more income in retirement? Call now and get this free book, Annuity Do's and Don'ts for Baby Boomers, from a leading financial firm on maximizing your income in retirement. And if you call right now, as a bonus, we'll throw in a free annuity rate report. Don't miss out on this opportunity because supplies are limited. Both books are yours free, just for calling Annuity General today.
Call 800-354-5972.
Getting real video for a commercial used to be extremely expensive, but not anymore. WYDC TV Big Fox now offers the Twin Tiers amazing aerial video for your business. We do it with our state-of-the-art drone and commercially licensed aerial pilot. Beautiful HD aerial video and pictures custom-made for your commercial. Call or email now to advertise on Big Fox TV and let everyone see your business in a whole new way.
Made baseball on Fox.
Hey, what I'm doing? Hey, getting right to it. The money is talking, I'm flowing, it's coming in just how I do it. Yeah, can't stop, nah, won't stop. Yeah, it's been on live. You don't believe it, just watch.
Jaw-dropping stuff. Major League Baseball all season long on Fox.
Sorry about that, folks. A little technical difficulty, came up a little short on time there, so we had a black screen. But now we are back, overlooking Market Street. What a beautiful morning. I'm your host, Frank Akam. You're watching, Frankly Speaking. We always have a little bit more fun on Fridays, covering so many issues. I hope that you'll be a part of it. We asked a question at the beginning of the show, a mere 27 minutes ago. We asked a question about Marjorie Taylor Greene. We talked about it yesterday on the program as well, where we've had really, I think, a really good back and forth discussion on her and what people think of her. Feel free to weigh in. But to Columbia. Cops storm Columbia University, bust 118 anti-Israel protesters after the university president finally tells NYPD to clear the campus. Again, the timing on that, if you recall, Columbia President Shafik, who I mentioned yesterday on the program, did not, or maybe 2 days ago on the program, did not have the best appearance at Congress. Well, more than 100 protesters were cuffed and hauled away from Columbia University when NYPD cops in riot gear swarmed the campus. What I understand from what I've been reading, the police were so nice, essentially saying, okay, you have to move. Are you going to move? And if they said no, okay, you're under arrest. No, you don't know a thing, get on the ground kind of thing. At least 108 protesters, including some who had to be carried away, were quickly filed into waiting NYPD corrections buses. A huge crowd of other demonstrators then defiantly swarmed the police vehicles to temporarily block them from leaving the scene. In the wake of the busts, officers then set about tearing down dozens of tents and dumping them in the trash. One 20-year-old Columbia student said, "I applaud the cops. They are doing the right thing. We don't feel safe. We fear for our lives. Remember who started this. Hamas, that terrorist group. We pay a lot of money to come here, and we should feel safe and protected." So Columbia president, who I mentioned, Shafik, announced she authorized the NYPD to crack down on the encampment. And wait till I tell you about exactly what the authorization said. She could not have more begrudgingly reached out to the police. But again, has a bad performance, for lack of a better term, in Congress. So perhaps she's saying, I've got to save face. I don't want to do this. One of the, by the way, and you may have heard this by now, one of the 108 protesters included Asira Hersey. She is the daughter of Squad Congresswoman Ilhan Omar. All of these protesters were slapped with trespassing summonses. Will they? It's New York. So they're clearly out. Will they bother going back? Well, 2 of the protesters were also handed obstruction of governmental administration summonses. Student protesters sat quietly in rows and didn't resist arrest. About 500 onlookers jeered and shouted at the authorities to stand down. Wow, they had some crowds here. Shame, let them go. Some vile taunts comparing the police to KKK. Mayor Eric Adams had this to say. Students have a right to free speech. They do not have a right to violate university policies and disrupt learning on campus. I know the conflict in the Middle East has left many of us grieving and angry. This is a painful moment in our city, for our country, and for the globe. New Yorkers have every right to express their sorrow, but the heartbreak does not give you the right to harass others, to spread hate. Meanwhile, Shafiq had earlier emailed students, faculty, and Shafiq is the Columbia president, faculty and staff saying she'd requested the NYPD's assistance despite her hopes that the move would never be necessary. So giving the warning, hey, disperse and nothing will happen. I took the extraordinary step, because these are extraordinary circumstances. The individuals who established the encampment violated a long list of rules and policies. Now, she's in an unenviable situation if you're her, because now you have really made mad the cash cows, the students that pay, $90,000 a year to go to Columbia, I think is a number that sticks in my head. So you have these students are now mad at you. But you also have to look out for the other students and the people in Congress who saw your reactions and saw your testimony and say what when it goes to pros and cons, which outweighs the other. And I guess in this instance, she felt that she had to save some face or otherwise she'd be out of a job after speaking to Congress and after hearing from students that said, hey, you know what? Maybe it's enough is enough on anti-Semitism and hate. But this is the letter, some of the letter that she sent to NYPD's Deputy Commissioner of Legal Matters. She said, with great regret, we request the NYPD's help to remove these individuals. We understand that the first step in this process will be for NYPD to use its LRAD technology to inform the participants in the encampment that they must disperse and give them time to leave prior to making any additional action. Very teacher-esque, right? We just want to, this is what you're going to do, okay? She's not saying this as it's a question. She's saying, well, we understand this is the protocol. This is wink, wink, nudge, nudge. Now, here's what I think is interesting. Listen to this. Like I said, very professor-esque. We trust that you will take care and caution. Again, not threatening, but we trust that you will take care and caution when removing any individual from our campus. How demeaning and condescending to talk to the NYPD in this way. But we trust that you will take care and caution when removing any individual from our campus. The safety and security of our community is our highest priority. We appreciate your commitment to assist us in a peaceful and respectful manner at this difficult time. This is so condescending. It's going to be peaceful. It's going to be a respectful manner, because you can read between the lines there in the dislike for police and the defund police mindset. If you just read exactly what she's saying. But I mentioned Ilhan Omar's daughter, Isra Hersey, suspended from Barnard College for her involvement in anti-Israel protests. She did not even go to Columbia. It's Barnard. How do you say it? Barnard, right? I just received notice that I am one of 3 students suspended for standing in solidarity with Palestinians facing a genocide, the 21-year-old wrote. I'm an organizer with CU Apartheid Divest at Columbia. In my 3 years at Barnard College, I have never been reprimanded or received any disciplinary warnings. Now, this is Ilhan Omar's daughter, who did get arrested at the protest. The only other thing I want to tell you about her is this little chestnut in the piece that I found. Quote, she attended her first protest at age 6. Okay. As a 6-year-old, that'll be my question for today. As a 6-year-old, how many protests had you attended? What would you protest as a 6-year-old? Of course, if it wasn't your mother or father or whoever pushing you to the protest, making you go to the protest, what would have been the biggest concern in your life at 6 years old? Would have been Middle East conflict? That's my question for you. If you are just joining us, if you're just waking up, Israel did hit back at Iran in a retaliatory strike targeting nuclear research facilities and major air bases, or air base. They're both plural. It's a very limited military strike. Now, Biden did not endorse Israel's response, but Israel did give a warning to the United States saying it was going to happen in the next 24 to 48 hours. So that is where we stand this morning. I've got to take another short break. Feel free to weigh in on all these topics. I know we're covering a lot. I'm going to go a little bit back to, just quickly, to this Columbia protest. We are going to talk about New York State issues. We have some local issues as well. But stay with us. We'll be right back with Frankly Speaking here on WYDC TV, Big Fox.
Isn't your wellness important? Don't you want more energy? Now's the best time to make every day better and relieve those achy muscles and pains than with the Hesselsen's Hot Tub. Hesselsen's has hot tubs in stock and available for immediate delivery with unbelievable savings. Hesselsen's offers 0% interest-free financing for up to 5 full years. Hesselsen's carries the only hot tub brand in the industry with the exclusive freshwater salt system that is eco-friendly and easy to use and only enhances your hot tubbing experience. Come in today and see why your next hot tub should be a Hesselsen's hot tub. And remember, it's always fun to poke in the corners at Hesselsen's.
I did not feel like I was going that fast.
Sorry, we're late for kickoff.
If I don't make it, my life will be over.
It was her fault. She was the one who kept telling me to go faster.
Obviously driving too fast, it's like I'm still late.
As I was driving, a huge bird flew in my view, cut me off. I just didn't see the sign because of the bird.
We lost our set list. We had to go back to the house.
It took forever to put on this face paint. I mean, look at the detail.
There's no excuse. Obey the sign or pay the fine.
I actually put the 55 on backwards because of the mirror.
Yeah.
Bathroom of your dreams is only a phone call away with BCI Bath and Shower. We can make your ordinary bath and shower extraordinary. This is not a cookie cutter design. This is a complete custom build that will fit your every need. It's never been easier or more affordable than right now to get the bathroom of your dreams. We have the best monthly programs in the industry with payments as low as $99 per month or no payments, no interest for 18 months with approved credit. The hardest part of your new bathroom is gutting and building the tub and shower. If your bathing area is old, there could be damage behind the walls and possible mold and mildew, which can be a serious safety issue. At BCI, we don't cover a problem, we fix it. Call now to get a never clean glass treated door with a no-track system at half off for the first 50 callers. Factory trained, certified installers made in the USA and discounts for seniors and military. Call 800-704-1798. That's 800-704-1798.
Sheldon and Missy face off in
Why can't we watch DuckTales? Because we don't learn anything.
Book Smarts versus Street Smarts.
Is it working? Are you feeling motivated? Very.
It's the battle of twins.
Life is so confusing. I always hoped it would be easier for me when I grew up. It's gonna be all right. You were faking. Bazinga.
Young Sheldon. Weeknights at 6:30 on Big Fox.
Thank you for joining us on this Friday morning 2-hour edition of Frankly Speaking here on Big Fox, broadcasting live from the Hesselsen studio. Quick reminder, what was it, last week maybe? Maybe the week before. We have so many great guests on this show that I sometimes forget the day, and I apologize. But Mr. Gregorian joined us of the Gregorian Ballet Theater, and I wanted to remind you, in case you had forgotten, that I guess I am not ready for this. Yes, there we go. Cinderella is this Saturday at 2 p.m. at the Clemens Center. Find out more at clemenscenter.org or call the box office for tickets. Just want to give you that quick reminder. Back to the protests at Columbia. Representative Rashida Tlaib, another member of the squad, raged at universities for cracking down on anti-Israel students who were protesting genocide. Quote, from UM to Vanderbilt to USC to Columbia, students across our country are being retaliated against for using their constitutional rights to protest genocide. It's appalling. Well, I think there's always a little bit of misconception well, not misconception, well, yeah, it's misconception, but also denying the fact of it's not about the free speech of this, why they got arrested. It was about trespassing. It's about breaking the rules. So, yes, you can try to suggest that's what it is, but at the end of the day, that's not what it is that got them in trouble. It was setting up the encampment. The anti-Israel, the hate, the rhetoric that was coming from them, the anti-Semitism that made students feel unsafe, become a part of it. Yeah, when the students became unsafe, then it became an issue of trespassing. Alan Dershowitz, and I just got a head nod. I'm going to count it. Head nod counts as a way. Alan Dershowitz was on Fox Business's Kudlow, and he said, they asked about Columbia President Shafiq, who I had mentioned. He said, well, she gets about a B- with grade inflation because she hasn't dealt with a problem. The core problem is DEI, diversity, equity, and inclusion, and intersectionality. These dominate universities today, and they're the source of anti-Semitism. And I just think it's interesting that Shafiq did this after the timing of it, but I don't want to keep bringing that up. So Alan Dershowitz continued. He had that Columbia wanted anti-Israel professors on the faculty because they were getting funding from anti-Israel countries. This is a much deeper problem. This goes back years and years and years, and until and unless universities like Harvard and Columbia get rid of, uproot completely from top to bottom, the DEI bureaucracy and the intersectionality bureaucracy that will continue. This will continue. And it will destroy every major university in America and turn American universities into the same third-rate institutions that Professor Joseph Massad is as a third-rate scholar. So boy, is there work to be done. And some of it's going to be difficult because her faculty won't support her. Many of her students won't support her. The problem is a lot deeper than we see on television today. What we see on television today is the tip of the iceberg. But don't call these people pro-Palestinian. They are anti-Palestinian. They are pro-Hamas. And I thought that was a very good point by Dershowitz. He has a piece out today, very much diving into the DEI factor in this, and it's at the New York Post. Universities like Columbia must end the double standard and stop tolerating campus anti-Semitism. And he goes through and gives some examples of what if the chants were about different ethnic groups. And then he gave some in a way here. And would there be action taken? Of course there would be. The racist diversity, equity, and inclusion bureaucracy and its bigoted brother, intersectionality, would demand it be ended, and the school would comply. So the issue is not one of abstract free speech. It is whether the school applies the same standards to Jews, blacks, gays, and other minorities. And with these universities, the answer is clearly no. This is Alan Dershowitz, if you're just joining us. What is permissible to say against Jews and Israel would not be permissible to say against blacks or gays. That is the reality. Universities, whether public or private, should apply a single standard of free speech, harassment, and tolerance for dissenting views. As the Supreme Court has held, there's no such thing as a false idea under the First Amendment. There's also no such thing as a true or good idea that is giving preference over false or bad ideas. There must be what we call a circle of symmetry. Columbia and other universities must decide whether to ban or permit all racist, sexist, homophobic, anti-Semitic, and other offensive speech. Ban or permit. They cannot punish anti-black racism while tolerating anti-Jewish racism, even if the First Amendment protects both. And just to end this here, as long as these bigoted bureaucracies continue to hold sway at universities, corporations, and other institutions, Jews will continue to be the object of discriminatory treatment in speech, admissions, hiring, and other decisions. These bureaucracies must be dismantled, uprooted, and delegitimized if real equality is to ever be restored. And this should be in every institution. But many universities are doubling down on their commitment to these dangerous ideologies. Presidents, professors, and administrators in most schools are too terrified to challenge these powerful bureaucracies, but they must if the future of America's great universities is to be preserved. So, yes, we're covering a lot there, I know, but it all ties in because if you're just joining us, Israel hit back at Iran in retaliation in a retaliatory strike. NBC already blaming Israel saying, well, this is not going to settle things down. Blaming, that's so interesting. They blame Israel, even though Israel was attacked on October 7th. They blame them here for the retaliatory strike against Iran, saying that it's just going to fan the flames in the Middle East. But anyway, will we have... well, Jewish students are very happy. They applauded the removal of anti-Israel protesters from Columbia University. It makes me feel safer, one student says. It makes me feel like the administration is finally implementing their policies. And the truth is, today of all days, it looks like everyone who supports their cause, the anti-Israel, pro-Hamas cause, came out of the crevices. And it's a lot of people. Yes, that's a scary part of this. And we've seen it in Washington. We've seen it on college campuses, how big that number is. It's not fringe. I know the media will try to tell you it's a fringe element, especially in Washington. It is no longer a fringe. It's a very prevalent and prominent part of the Democrat Party, and that is why Biden is told Israel that he didn't support the move to bomb Iran, wants things to settle down, ceasefire, et cetera, because he wants to play to that part of his base with this anti-Israel sentiment, because the numbers are large enough that he believes it could cost him certain states. So there you go. I think that speaks volumes. We are running late. Stay with us. We'll be right back with Frankly Speaking here on WYDC TV. Big Fox.
Isn't your wellness important? Don't you want more energy? Now is the best time to make every day better and relieve those achy muscles and pains than with the Hesselson's Hot Tub. Hesselson's has hot tubs in stock and available for immediate delivery with unbelievable savings. Hesselson's offers 0% interest-free financing for up to 5 full years. Hesselson's carries the only hot tub brand in the industry with the exclusive freshwater salt system that is eco-friendly and easy to use and only enhances your hot tubbing experience. Come in today and see why your next hot tub should be a Hesselson's hot tub. And remember, it's always fun to poke in the corners at Hesselson's.
Was your premature baby fed a cow's milk baby formula such as Similac or Enfamil? If so, your child may be entitled to significant financial compensation. Evidence shows that cow's milk formulas increase the risk of NEC in premature babies, causing severe harm and even death. If your child was born premature and suffers from NEC, intestinal perforations, sepsis, cerebral palsy, or died as a result, you may have the right to sue for a significant financial compensation. Call now for a free case review.
It's a season of Sherry.
Having a good time has always been my #1 goal. I tend to get crazy. At my age, I should not be jumping up and down like that. And if you don't know what I mean, ask your mama. The young ones, y'all like, we don't know what you're talking about. But I promise you, in 30 years, you will.
It's the best time in daytime.
Weekdays at 2 p.m. on Big Fox.
And we are back. I'm running just a tad bit late this morning, but we received this comment from a viewer. If you're just joining us, or maybe you missed yesterday's show, the question has been posed, is Marjorie Taylor Greene helpful, hurtful? What's your general thoughts about Marjorie Taylor Greene? And it doesn't have to just be Marjorie Taylor Greene. It can be whoever, Matt Gaetz, and I'm not lumping them all together. I'm just saying the people that in the past have kind of been disruptors. I hope that doesn't sound biased, but I think you know who I'm speaking of in general. This is from a viewer. The majority of Republican leaders and population at large have been trained by the radical left media to comply with the narrative, no matter how bizarre. Marjorie Taylor Greene is trying to get above the noise of it, rather than protest amongst each other the way the Republican sheeple are doing. Perhaps it's time for her to use her bully pulpit to spin towards the larger issues. I guess that's one of the issues that I have mentioned a few times so far. I understand. I don't think anybody is opposed to a fighter when it comes to Republicans, because we don't see that often. So we look forward to it when we do. And one of the reasons why Trump was so successful, it's just sometimes about the picking and choosing. I personally, and you may be able to prove me wrong, you may be able to laugh at me later on, I do not think this is helpful trying to revolt against Mike Johnson at this point. I think Mike Johnson is a good person. I think we're not always going to agree with every move that he makes. I understand that. But the difference is, I think, in a way, without getting on a tangent here, when Pelosi was Speaker and there was an issue, I don't care how controversial it was amongst Democrats. You know, you might have somebody from the squad saying, I can't vote for this. I cannot vote. And that person in the squad will go out and talk about it on the nightly news and no, this is horrible, this is horrible. But with Democrats, Nancy Pelosi made those calls. And at the end of the day, guess who got their win? Nancy Pelosi. It seems like in our case, we are quick to throw people under the bus rather than rally around each other trying to be successful. And that's what it feels like a little bit here. But no matter what you want to say, at the end of the day, and yes, every once in a while that congressperson that went out and said, I can never vote for this, Nancy and the whip could look at the numbers and say, okay, if that's what you want, we have the numbers we need, so you go ahead for the public relations aspect to it. But if push came to shove and they needed that vote, Nancy Pelosi would have got that vote. All right, so the Dem-inspired protesters are the frontline weapons of controlling their agenda. I'm not really exactly sure what that means. Yes, I'm sorry. One last thing on this before we take a break. AOC and Bowman are leading, because we've been talking about the squad all morning for whatever reason, lead opposition to the House resolution condemning the Iran attack on Israel. Now, if you are just joining us, I know I keep saying this, but Israel did hit back at Iran in the retaliatory strike that was late last night. But far-left New York representatives Alexandria Ocasio-Cortez and Jamal Bowman were 2 of 14 House lawmakers to vote against a resolution, 14 to vote against a resolution condemning Iran's unprecedented drone and missile attack against Israel. The resolution overwhelmingly passed in a 404-14 vote Thursday, with all but one of the nays coming from Democrats. Yes, there was one nay, if you will, a part of this 14 that was Republican, and that was Thomas Massie. He was the lone Republican to oppose the resolution, the resolution also, quote, reaffirms and supports Israel's right to self-defense and stands with Israel as it defends itself against Iran's attack and seeks to reestablish deterrence against Iran and its proxies. I'm not going to read the whole list of 14. It is essentially the squad and some other names. Well, I guess I can real quick. AOC, Bowman, Cori Bush, Greg Cesar, Jonathan Jackson, Pramila Jayapal, Hank Johnson, Barbara Lee, Summer Lee, Ilhan Omar, Ayanna Presley, Delia Ramirez, Rashida Tlaib. There you go. And one Republican, Thomas Massie. We got to take another break. Stay with us. Last break of this hour. We're just getting started. Stay with us.
Hi, I'm Adam.
And I'm Aubrey.
For over 40 years, the Blaze Alexander family dealerships have been making car buying easy, affordable, with respect for your time.
And we do that by treating all of our customers like family.
By making sure you get the lowest rates, biggest discounts, and most for your trade.
By providing clean, comfortable, and convenient service.
By offering the largest selection of new and pre-owned vehicles every day. Visit a Blaze Alexander family dealership,
where we're taking the deals
the other guys won't.
Friends have been friends about Colonial Penn Guaranteed Acceptance Whole Life Insurance for more than 50 years, and with good reason. If you're between the age of 50 and 85, it's a sure thing. Your acceptance is guaranteed because full benefits are not paid in the first 2 years. And the price? Options start at $9.95 a month, less than 35 cents a day. With Colonial Penn, your rate is another sure thing. It will never increase. And you should know this coverage can last a lifetime.
Call today, 1-800-475-1050.
Welcome to Frankly Speaking, talking to the people that affect your life, that affect all of our day-to-day lives. This is something you're not going to get anywhere else. We've got a lot to offer. There'll be a lot of news, local, regional, national, really the things that affect you. And I think you'll be glad that you tuned in. So think of it as radio on TV. Frankly Speaking, live, 2 hours long, starting at 6 a.m. on WYDC TV Big Fox. This is History Making. We are back, 2 hours long, as you just saw from that commercial. 2-hour version of Frankly Speaking from here on out. We love it. So, as I said, welcome back. We have a lot to get to. We're just about out of time for this hour. Did you see? So, as I mentioned, I know I keep saying, but Israel did have the retaliatory strike against Iran late last night. There's been some comments which we may get to later on if we need time. We won't need time, but if there's a couple comments, with Ted Cruz saying obviously Israel has a right to defend themselves like that. Marco Rubio tweeted this shortly after reports of the Israeli strike began to emerge, saying, "Hearing Supreme Leader of Iran, Ali Khamenei, is having a blast today on his birthday." That's Marco Rubio writing on Twitter. So Hochul, I don't want to, man, we only have a couple minutes left before we go, and I don't want to jump into a completely different topic. So I will say what others had to say about this attack. Reports of Israel's retaliatory strike prompted this statement from Senator Ted Cruz. "The scope of Israel's action tonight shows just how far Iran's reach has extended across the region. Iran's advances should worry every American. Because when Iran's leaders chant death to Israel, they also chant death to America. Iran launched a massive attack, an act of war against Israel. The attack was enabled because Joe Biden and Biden officials dismantled pressure on the Ayatollah. Thankfully, after decades of cooperations with the U.S., and thanks to President Trump's diplomacy in the Middle East, we and our Israeli and Arab allies repelled that attack. However, it was still an act of war, and Israel has the right and obligation to respond. Congress should ensure the United States stands unequivocally with our Israeli allies as they do so and reestablish deterrence." Also asking, Marco Rubio saying, "If another country targeted America with the single biggest drone attack in history, how would we respond?" It's a good question by Marco Rubio. Unfortunately, I don't know the answer. Now, according to reports, the Biden administration didn't endorse Israel's response to Iran, but as we had those, and I'm going to paraphrase, I wish I had it right in front of me, but what Netanyahu said, basically, thank you for all the tips, thank you for all the suggestions, but at the end of the day, Israel decides for Israel, and we're going to do whatever we can to protect Israel. Now, I'm paraphrasing, that's not an exact quote, but he said that just the other day, something to the extent of, it's up to us, it's our decision, and we're going to do what we need to do. Okay, we are out of time for this hour, frankly speaking. Just 1 hour left together. In that next hour, we'll be talking with Mark Watts about the Chemung County Fair, which is coming up on July 31st and will continue until Saturday, August 3rd. Now, you're saying that's a ways away, Frank. Well, first of all, it'll be here in a blink of an eye. But second of all, there were some changes this year. You may have heard about some of them. We want to find out about the changes. We wanted to find out a little bit about how we can help make this a huge success. So we'll be talking with Mark Watts in the next hour. Also, I'll be playing a really nice video with Assemblyman Phil Palmisano regarding Donate Life Month. So that's coming up in the next hour, as well as some New York State issues. We're going to talk about the budget underway. Here's what's in the $237 billion New York State budget so far. We'll talk about that, where that stands. Also, a few things here about Congressman Langworthy. Then we'll probably get back into a little bit about the protests at Columbia and what Washington had to say. I don't know. We've got a lot to cover. Thanks for joining us so far. We'll be right back with Frankly Speaking. I hope you'll stay with us for the next hour here on WYDC TV. Big Fox, we'll see you after this short break.
Our water's better tasting. It's better for the planet.
That's great, sir. Can I take your order?
Oh, number 3.
At Culligan, we get that most people don't think about water like we do, and that's okay. You see, when we install our drinking water and softening systems, we're thinking about filtering contaminants and the minerals that make water hard. So you can just think about softer, cleaner, better tasting water. At Culligan, we think about your water, so you don't have to.
Call today to schedule your free water test.
Rated the best hearing aids of 2023 by Forbes, the Audien Atom 2 series offers superior sound quality and functionality for a fraction of the price. For just $189 a pair, the Atom 2 features 4 different hearing modes for all types of hearing loss. It packs crystal clear sound, a nearly invisible design, and is even rechargeable.
I actually like them better than my old $5,000 hearing aids. They're so comfortable, I forget I'm wearing them. And the sound is amazing.
The Atom Pro 2 is our smallest hearing aid yet, featuring advanced background noise cancellation, and is the world's first hearing aid with built-in UV cleaning that kills 99% of bacteria.
I could not believe how my hearing and life changed without seeing a doctor or having a hearing test.
Join over 500,000 happy customers today and get the hearing you deserve.
Call 1-800-434-9816 or go to audionhearing.com to get your pair of Audion hearing aids starting at just $189.
And welcome to the 7 o'clock hour, the second hour of Frankly Speaking, here on WYDC TV Big Fox. Thank you so much for joining us. I'm your host, Frank Acom. We're broadcasting live from the Hesselson studio here on Marcus Street in Corning. I got a couple of comments here. If you're just joining us, we've had a lot of great conversation this morning. Still posing the question like we did yesterday about Marjorie Taylor Greene and that fight against Mike Johnson. But so many other issues we can get to. What did you think about the crackdown on the protesters? So let's get to some of these comments. See what people have to say. Perhaps Republican methods to gain power are out of date, and we need to have our own protester campaign. Let me ask this question then as well. Are the protesting campaigns effective? Sure, it gives the causes a lot of attention, but I think most people, when they see these protests, especially the ones that shut down bridges, shut down traffic, or when you see the hate that's being spewed on college campuses as anti-Semitic hate, I don't think it wins too many people over. Yes, the people that were predisposed to maybe believing that maybe join the fray. But then again, you can make the argument, why is that group growing? As that one Jewish student at Columbia said, everybody came out of the crevices. So what would they say? 500 people tried to stop police from arresting the 108 that got arrested. So, it does seem to grow in that sense. But this group is also the one that has... essentially the one. I mean, I don't know if they fall under different names, different umbrella corporations, but they're the ones that are going against Biden in the protest votes in the primaries. So they're not even happy with Genocide Joe, as they call him. So I'm not really sure perhaps what the end game is. But to more on that, we are tired of getting pushed around without objection to the crazy, unfair tactics and rule breaking going on by the radical left. That's a fair point. That's the point that so many have made. I've made it on this show, but we've seen piece after piece of it, where there's so much rule breaking, so many attacks on, let's say, Trump, with the weaponization of the judicial system, especially this case with Bragg that's going on now, the hush money trial, which we can talk about if you'd like. I have a couple of takeaways from it if we get a chance, but I know that's covered so much elsewhere. But yes, you see the unfair tactics. You see them trying to keep Trump off the ballot. You see these trials, and many people, Piers Morgan said the other day, these are the kind of things that are going to win Trump the election. These are the kind of things that people can't stand to see. You know, it's one thing to say, I don't like Trump, but it's another thing to say, I hate the way that they've changed the rules, that they've weaponized the judicial system, and I should be able to decide who I want to vote for at the end of the day. So it makes a lot of people very upset. So yes, to your point, I understand why it drives you crazy, that it is unfair tactics. But I think that's why you're seeing so much pushback, even from people, like I said, I mean, it's just anecdotal, but people who I know that aren't fans of Trump, but really don't like seeing what's going on here. Another comment, it is so disgusting that we actually have elected officials in state and federal government that won't condemn anti-American protests, which have actually chanted death to America. Our government is truly running off the rails. Yes, Ken, I agree that even of all people, Bill Maher, you're not normally going to hear me quote Bill Maher, but he was saying that when you have in Dearborn, Michigan, protesters chanting death to America, and it isn't even front page news, you know, as I mentioned on the show the other day, we've almost become numb to these people burning the American flag. It's almost become, and this is a sick way of putting it, but it's almost become cliche that they do that. So to that point, yes, that we actually have elected leaders who will not condemn anti-American protests. As a matter of fact, was it Rashida Tlaib who said it's disgraceful that we would arrest those quote-unquote protesters that were trespassing, and the vile hate that was coming from them. That's not why they got arrested. Free speech is free speech. What they got arrested for was trespassing. But yeah, so they're not even willing to condemn. That's the weird place. And going back to what Bill Maher said, that it's this weird, and I'm paraphrasing, but it's this very weird place we are in America, that we see chants, the chants that we once watched on the nightly news from foreign countries saying death to America are now in Dearborn, Michigan. That is a dangerous place for America to be in. You may want to see certain things changed in America, but when you want to blow up the whole system, you want death to the whole system, that's when we're in a very, very dangerous place. And many of our elected officials believe that the system has to be completely uprooted, completely changed, completely destroyed, and start over again. It is. I know I'm not doing the best job of paraphrasing Bill Maher, but that's all right. I won't lose any sleep over it. I'm sure he wouldn't either. Thank you. A lot of waves coming in. Thank you to everybody joining us this morning. Let's get to the New York State budget. We'll talk a little bit more about Israel. The questions are always open. You can take that phone number, leave me a voicemail, any kind of thing that you want to talk about. But so far, we've had a few questions asked. Hochul celebrates, and I kind of teased this in the 6 o'clock hour, the retail theft policy win in the state budget. Now, if you're not familiar, the budget deal is actually in action. I started the votes last night, I believe. A lot of critics said we couldn't get it done, that we'd fall short, that it would be a watered-down version. But I'm here to say we got it done exactly the way we had hoped for, because it's something I would not budge on. Wow. Hochul taking a lot of credit here. I like it, because it's something I would not budge on. It was me. I'm tough when it comes to criminal justice. I'm tough when it comes to public safety. We're done forcing small businesses, in particular retail businesses of all sizes, to fend off these brash and organized criminal networks on their own. When they're under siege, we're under siege. Shoplifting complaints, listen to this, reached over 60,000 last year, according to, that's New York City, NYPD statistics. So here's the part of the deal. Over $40 million for a new law enforcement run retail crime task force and a $5 million tax credit for businesses who need to hire security officers or buy surveillance cameras. But she said her biggest win is making it a felony to assault a retail worker. Now, if you recall, I mentioned this all week. It was something that was just maddening. I talked about it with Sheriff Allard on the program. To think that it was actually a fight in Albany shows you the mindset of what we're dealing with here about the coddling of criminals. There was a fight on whether or not there should be stricter penalties about someone who attacks an innocent retail worker. Because as Hasty had said, State Assembly Speaker Carl Hasty, that he didn't believe increased penalties were a deterrent to crime. But she said, quote, and this is Governor Hochul, right now it's a misdemeanor. Going from a misdemeanor to a felony was a dramatic change for a lot of people in our legislature who wanted to leave it as a misdemeanor. And I'll just leave it at that. Ooh, she's even taken a couple digs. I don't know, she might be she might be biting off more than she can chew. This isn't all done yet. Meanwhile, the legislature did begin voting on the budget bills yesterday. We want to get it right, and we believe that we have, said State Senate Majority Leader Andrea Stewart Cousins. But she admitted lawmakers are still discussing the final details of policies included in Hochul's $237 billion state budget. One for sure, I know, is we're still trying to deal with mayoral control. We'll talk about that. But yes, she's getting very cocky in this. But at the end of the day, that is a step in the right direction. The felony charge, if you were to assault any retail worker. The fact that that was ever an argument, that there should be increased penalties. And let's face it, the shoplifting is bad for business, but it's bad for New York State as well. And I know I mentioned the other day, when Trump visited that bodega in New York City and saying that basically shoplifting has become built into your business plan. So if you're a major retailer, major big box store, would you think of coming to New York if this is what you have to deal with? Not to mention, how do you get employees when those employees are living on eggshells, wondering if they're going to be attacked? But this is this is one of the consequences of bail reform and so many of the failed policies coming out of Albany. All of our insurance premiums, this is from a viewer, all of our insurance premiums have gone up approximately 22% or more. I would say that they have fallen way short in helping innocent citizens pay for the theft going on across the nation. This is, I don't know, it's also interesting the cost. Yes, because one point to that is, and that is a very good point, that when you go in to buy that, whatever it is, that toothbrush that's now under lock and key, that toothbrush is going to be more expensive because they had 10 other toothbrushes stolen the week before to make up for the difference. So yes, there's so many consequences here. And then you see what happened in Chemung. I mean, officers putting their lives on the line because of these. And they always say it's organized. I don't know how much it is organized. I think there is. I think there's a lot of that. But for some reason, I think they downplayed that the fact with bail reform, they're just people going in and saying, well, I'll just take this. But it definitely discourages businesses from staying in New York State or coming to New York State. We know that. So housing, cannabis, and more, says the Gothamist. That's what's in the budget so far. New York Governor Kathy Hochul and state lawmakers are poised to pass measures meant to bolster housing production and protect renters from eviction, crack down on retail theft, and restore some Medicaid funding the governor previously had on the chopping block. So we'll talk about that when we come back, but we've got to take a short break. So stay with us. This is Frankly Speaking here on WYDC TV. Big Fox will be right back.
Aaron's Heating and Air Conditioning in Corning, New York is a local veteran-owned and operated company with over 25 years experience. Trust the experts at Aaron's Heating and Air Conditioning for all of your HVAC needs.
It's hard to stop a train.
Attention, if you were a loved one regularly used hair relaxers or straighteners and were diagnosed with uterine, ovarian, or endometrial cancer, you may be entitled to significant compensation.
I've used hair relaxers for years. I had no idea they could cause cancer.
Chemical hair relaxers and straighteners have been linked to serious conditions, including several types of cancer. If you used hair relaxers and now have uterine, ovarian, or endometrial cancer, call now to see if you qualify. There's no fee unless we win your case.
Attention Care beneficiaries. This is an important message for people on Medicare. Today we are talking about Medicare Advantage plans. If you're new to Medicare, moving or losing coverage, and don't have a Medicare Advantage Part C plan, call now because there may be a Medicare Part C plan with additional benefits available in your zip code. You can call now to find out if you're eligible to enroll in a Medicare Advantage plan with additional benefits. Just call 800-351-6177 and a licensed insurance agent can look up your eligibility and plan options and see if you're eligible to enroll in a Medicare Part C plan that could save money or include additional benefits. Don't wait. You are not automatically enrolled in a Part C plan with additional benefits. If you're new to Medicare, moving or losing coverage, call for your free, no-obligation Medicare benefits review. You won't know what plan options are available to you unless you call, so call now. The call is free. Call 800-351-6177. 800-351-6177.
Shell Missy face off in
Why can't we watch DuckTales? Because we don't learn anything.
Book Smarts versus Street Smarts.
Is it working? Are you feeling motivated? Very.
It's the battle of twins.
Life is so confusing. I always hoped it would be easier for me when I grew up. It's gonna be all right. You were faking. Bazinga.
Young Sheldon. Weeknights at 6:30 on
And we are back with Frankly Speaking here on WYDC TV. Big Fox. I'm your host, Frank Agam. We're broadcasting live from the Hesselson studio. We're talking about the New York State budget. So some of the... It started on Monday with the conceptual parameters of agreement, blah, blah. But here we are. So some of the things mostly decided, this is coming according to the Gothamist, housing package with tax breaks for developers, tenant protection. So that's mostly decided. That's been a very big sticking point throughout this whole conversation. Decided is a cannabis crackdown. Hochul and state legislators are including bigger, blunter cannabis enforcement tools in this year's budget to make it easier for authorities to shut down unlicensed shops. Last year's state budget raised fines on illicit vendors, but as was reported in the past, enforcement has been going slow. Yeah, didn't we? I don't remember the numbers. I'm never good at having numbers stick in my head. But wasn't the amount of people that actually paid their fines just minuscule? In response to pleas from Mayor Adams, the budget directly empowers municipalities to seek court orders to seal unlicensed dispensaries. The budget also establishes certain cases where officials can immediately padlock a shop suspected of selling weed illegally and then hold a hearing instead of the other way around. And if any landlords are informed their tenants are selling cannabis without a license, they have just a few days to start eviction proceedings before the landlord is fined up to 5 times the rent they're charging. Think about that. So you can't even kick out your tenants in certain places, and they have to start the eviction proceedings. I'm not sure if this is the best enforcement, and I'm glad that it's getting stricter, but it seems like putting this in the hands of local law enforcement even more so would have been maybe a better move. Undecided mayoral control of New York City schools. We heard about that earlier, that has been a big sticking point. Decided retail theft. I mentioned that just moments ago. $40 million for law enforcement crackdown, as well as a $3,000 tax credit for business owners who make security upgrades. Those measures are expected and yet to be introduced budget bills. Mostly decided healthcare spending. Decided hate crime expansion, but not for graffiti. Hochul said during her State of the State address in January that she wanted to expand New York's hate crime statute to include everything from gang assault to graffiti. Now lawmakers have agreed to add gang assault to the statute, but not graffiti. The budget includes legislation to add about 24 offenses to the hate crime law, which allows prosecutors to seek stiffer penalties for a crime if it was motivated by the victim's race, religion, gender, or other protected traits. Along with first and second degree gang assault, the new hate crime measure will include charges like criminal obstruction of breathing, sexual misconduct, and certain rape charges, among others. It does not include graffiti, though prosecutors often apply criminal mischief charges in such cases, which can be charged as a hate crime. So that's what we know so far about the long-awaited, long-anticipated budget. What I'm basically trying to say is we still don't have the answers. By the way, if you are just joining us, Israel hits back at Iran in that retaliatory strike. You can weigh in on that. We've been talking about that throughout the whole 6 o'clock hour. We're talking about the New York State budget. What are your thoughts about Mike Johnson this morning, the embattled Speaker of the House? Yesterday we posed a question. I posed it again this morning. Is this helpful? Is this hurtful? What do you think of Marjorie Taylor Greene? What don't you think about Marjorie Taylor Greene? Just a conversation that I think is worth having here. As we move forward, as we near November, wondering what's best for the party, what's best for election chances. Is this one of the avenues to go down, or are there bigger fish to fry? That's my question that I would ask you if you tuned in to hear wall-to-wall coverage of a new album by Taylor Swift. You have unfortunately came to the wrong place. Probably won't have an opportunity to bring that up throughout the morning. Coming up in just a little bit after this next break, we're going to talk with Mark Watts. He is the president of the Chemung County Fair coming up. I know it's a little ways away, July 31st, but there's some changes, and I wanted to give you an opportunity to make sure that you had all the information you needed if you wanted to volunteer, if you wanted to maybe have your booth set up. So that's coming up. Also, we're going to be playing a very nice video regarding Assemblyman Phil Palmisano and his passion for Donate Life Month and for organ donations in general. So we'll be playing that as well. A couple updates from Congressman Langworthy as well, some funding coming in, and just other topics of the day. So feel free to weigh in at any time, but we do have to take a quick break, and then we'll be back with Frankly Speaking here on WYDC TV Big Fox. Our guest, and it's not too late to get questions in, Mark Watts. We'll be right back.
At Simmons Rockwell Nissan, lease a brand new 2024 Nissan Rogue SV all-wheel drive for only $399 a month for 36 months. Make car buying simple. Drive your deal at Simmons Rockwell Nissan in Horse.
Hi, and welcome everyone watching at home. We're here to remind you that we have agents standing by right now to answer your legal questions. So if you've been injured in an accident, it was not your fault. Call now. Find out if you have a case and how much is potentially worth. I'm Gina Bellich here with spokesman and TV personality Tom Mustin. So Tom, tell everyone watching at home who should call right now.
Well, Gina, first off, thank you for having me here in the studio. Now, as far as who should call in, the answer is anyone who's been injured in an accident that was not your fault should give us a call right now. Agents are standing by to answer any questions you may have and tell you how much your case is potentially worth.
Thanks, Tom. So what kind of calls are we seeing today?
Well, Gina, we're getting calls about all types of accidents, but the most common has been car accidents. So if you or someone you know were injured in an accident that was not your fault, take that first step and give us a call. We'll answer your questions and you'll find out if you have a case and how much it's potentially worth.
Thanks, Tom. Call now.
Name something with a diamond in it.
Diamondback rattlesnake.
It's in the name. Name a low-calorie food you might make your edible underwear out of.
Salmon.
Watch it weeknights. Share it the next day.
Wild caught Norwegian teriyaki.
Share in the fun. Weeknights on Family Feud.
7 and 7:30 on Big Fox.
It's a season of sharing.
Having a good time has always been my *1 goal. I tend to get crazy. At my age, I should not be jumping up and down like that. And if you don't know what I mean, ask your mama. The young ones, y'all like, we don't know what you're talking about. But I promise you, in 30 years, you will.
It's the best time in daytime.
Weekdays at 2 p.m. on Big Fox.
Welcome back to Frankly Speaking here on WYDC TV Big Fox. I'm your host, Frank Acom, and we are broadcasting from the Hesselson studio. And joining me in that studio, Mark, thanks so much for being on the program.
Oh, thank you for having me. Appreciate it.
It's the Chemung County Fair. I know people are saying the weather's starting to break. You start to feel ready to be at the fair, right?
Yes.
Now, it changed a little bit this year, and I was hoping that you could tell us what those changes are.
Well, one of the things we did is we moved it from a 6-day fair down to a 4-day fair, so that our carnival rides could be open from 1 to 9 every day.
Oh, okay.
We were having some issues where they couldn't open till 4, and now this way they'll be open 1 to 9 every day.
Oh, that's great. What's the reaction been?
It's been fantastic.
Yeah.
I think families want to come and enjoy the afternoon and not have to wait till 4 o'clock.
I always thought that was interesting because, especially with work and kids are off of school, it'll be nice to have the afternoon to spend time at the fair.
Yes.
Yes. And I'm excited about this. We were talking a little bit off the air. The Oak Ridge boys are coming to town.
Yes. The day they're coming, Thursday, August 1st, is our Senior Citizens Day. So in honor of our senior citizens, we were looking for a band.
Oh, perfect.
And we wanted the Oak Ridge Boys.
Well, and it's perfect because, of course, they have the hit Elvira.
Yes.
And they'll have to sing it as Elmira,
We hope.
right? They'll
We
have
hope.
to sing it as Elmira. It seems like a no-brainer. So originally, when you decided to make some of the changes that you were making, what went into that decision? Was there any pushback, or you said everybody kind of agreed that this seems like the right thing to do?
Everything, we agreed to what's going to do. Everything costs more every day, so we're trying to watch what we're spending, looking for more sponsors, and we've had a great reception from the businesses.
I'm sure. And how's the planning been going so far? Because we were kind of joking off the air. People don't realize how much goes into 4 days.
Oh, yes.
Yeah.
No, we start the day after the fair.
Is that right?
To start the planning events. You hope to have it. It was hard for us because many of us, the new board just took over in January, so we have a shortened year this year to plan it. But it's come along great. The board's fantastic. Everybody's taking their role. And moving forward, we're going to have live bands every day.
Okay.
We're going back to theme days, so we're going to have Veterans Day, Senior Citizens Day, First Responders Day, and then Family Day.
When it comes to the fair, what do you personally look forward to the most?
Well, when I grew up on a farm, that was our only week off.
Sure.
So it was when we got to share with our other farm friends and show our cattle and just get the fair bug. We just love being there for the rides and the socializing.
Well, and it's such a part of summer, right? Towards the end of summer like that. I mean, people think of the fair time, and it's a special place in everybody's heart, I think.
Yes, and we're hoping to get more people to get that fair bug so they
Yeah.
want to come and see us.
Yeah.
And we did reduce the price by 60%. So it's only going to be $2 to get into the gate instead of $5.
Oh, wow.
And everybody 16 and under is going to get in for free. And every theme day, like Veterans Day, veterans come in free. Senior citizens, they come in free. And first responders will be in free on Friday. And then Saturday, we hope everybody's free. It's just a free day.
Isn't that great?
Oh, it'd be fantastic.
So you're really looking to build up the crowds this year, and I want to stress too, just you're so focused on making it family friendly. I think with the time change and the admission prices, that's so nice.
That's what we're trying to do. Build that capacity, get back to community involvement, and just have fun.
And it is a part about the fair, like you said, about having the conversation with your neighbors. There's something so much about the community when it comes to the fair. People you may not see all year, but you'll see them at the fair.
There's nothing better than a conversation than go get a hot sausage or a funnel cake.
Yeah, oh, you didn't even mention the food. The food is probably what I look forward to the most. It's the one time a year where you don't feel like you're cheating if you're eating that kind of
There you
stuff,
go.
right?
No diets that week.
Yeah, exactly. You don't feel sick. It's amazing. I love it. So you had mentioned a little bit about sponsors. I'm sure that's a very important part of the fair, isn't it, to get sponsors?
Yes, it's probably the biggest part. And then we've been really working to get out in the community and talk to our businesses who have been fantastic. Nell's Tractor, Hilliard's, Chemung Supply, Delaware River Solar, Casella. There's many. Go to our website. We are listing them all. But it's been a fantastic from our sponsors and businesses.
And are you looking for more sponsors and businesses?
Oh, we're always looking for more
right.
sponsors. Because the more sponsors we can get, the more acts we can bring in and have more on our midway.
Well, I'm also sure that when these businesses did such a great job sponsoring the fair, they know how important the fair is to our community, I think, and they would want to be a part of it.
Yes, and that's what they really like it, and they're talking about with their employees and stuff to come, and we just want to make it family friendly and get everybody there.
Now, what about vendors? I know a lot of people probably think, "Oh, I'm a vendor. I sell these things." Can they be a part of the fairs that are already set in stone?
Yeah, if they get on the Chemung County website, our girl's April Penhollow, who takes care of all that coordination. If you get a hold of us on an email, we'll definitely get you involved with her and get you on the fairgrounds. We're looking for everybody to come.
How much time do you think, because you mentioned the emails and the calls, how much time do you think you spend daily on the fair? Sounds like you guys are busy.
Yes, I know. We probably, there's 4 or 5 of us that are probably doing 20, 30 hours a week.
Wow.
I mean, it's
That's
nights, weekends, but it's something that we are proud of. We're looking forward to it, and
a labor of
I
love.
think after this year, it's going to get easier because many of us, it's our first time doing this, so it's learn as you go.
That's got to be a little stressful, isn't it?
No, it's kind of a fun stress.
Oh, okay.
You know, it's you just want to see it be successful, and everybody seems to be joining in with us. I think if you go in there with enthusiasm, they also get enthused about it.
And going back just quickly, because like I said, I'm very excited about the Oak Ridge boys. What goes into that decision? You said it's for Senior Day, but was that a kind of a conversation of who would be the best for the fair this year?
Yes, usually, and actually what we're doing is we're working with Kathy Jenkins, who helps the Troy Fair quite a bit and part of the Troy Fair.
Oh, yeah, of course.
We get together to give a list of who the artists are available. And then that's probably one of the biggest things that I've seen is how much goes into that. The back and forth. Can they get here when they're going to be traveling through and getting everything together? But when we seen them, it was pretty much, hey, it's Senior Citizens Day. Let's see if we can get the Oak Ridge boys here.
And because I never even thought about that, because with the Oak Ridge boys, they're known for touring all the time. So they have to find a place that they can go to the Chemung County Fair that works for you. You can only set it so many days. So that's really cool.
Yeah, we get one day.
Yeah, exactly.
To choose from.
So if it doesn't work,
catch them through there.
Oh, that's really interesting. Now, we mentioned sponsors. We mentioned vendors. People can get involved that way. What if someone wants to volunteer? Because I'm sure it takes a lot of volunteer hours to get pull this off.
We're looking for all the volunteers we can get to
Yeah.
help us set up and to help us with grandstands. And actually, Kevin Adams from the county has put up a nice form online that you can go on there and actually put in there to volunteer for us.
Oh, great.
With the different options and different jobs you can do. But we're looking for everybody to come and can have fun with us.
Okay, and I'll put that up on the screen after our interview, so anybody that wants to volunteer, because it's not too early. I know we kind of joke here it's April, but in a blink of an eye, it's going to be July 31st.
I think it's 103 days or something like that from now. They have a countdown going.
Yeah. Oh, do they? That's a neat idea. So we'll find out more information on those websites when we come back. Mark, thanks so much for being on the program, giving us so much time this morning.
Okay, thanks. And the other thing we're going to do is fireworks this year.
Oh, fireworks.
So
I didn't
Friday
even
night.
Talk about burying the lead. Fireworks what day?
Friday night.
Friday night. Don't miss the fireworks. I'm sure before July 31st, I hope anyway, that you can come back on the program, give us some updates. All right,
Love
sounds
to do
good.
it.
All right, we'll be right back with Frankly Speaking. Stay with us.
Attention, if you or a loved one regularly used hair relaxers or straighteners and were diagnosed with uterine, ovarian, or endometrial cancer, you may be entitled to significant compensation.
I've used hair relaxers for years. I had no idea they could cause cancer.
Chemical hair relaxers and straighteners have been linked to serious conditions, including several types of cancer. If you used hair relaxers and now have uterine, ovarian, or endometrial cancer, call now to see if you qualify. There's no fee unless we win your case.
Attention Medicare beneficiaries. This is an important message for people on Medicare. Today we are talking about Medicare Advantage plans. If you're new to Medicare, moving or losing coverage, and don't have a Medicare Advantage Part C plan, call now because there may be a Medicare Part C plan with additional benefits available in your zip code. You can call now to find out if you're eligible to enroll in a Medicare Advantage plan with additional benefits. Just call 800-351-6177 and a licensed insurance agent can look up your eligibility and plan options and see if you're eligible to enroll in a Medicare Part C plan that could save money or include additional benefits. Don't wait. You are not automatically enrolled in a Part C plan with additional benefits. If you're new to Medicare, moving or losing coverage, call for your free, no-obligation Medicare benefits review. You won't know what plan options are available to you unless you call, so call now. The call is free. Call 800-351-6177. 800-351-6177.
Is this the start of a dynasty?
Ryan Blaney is a NASCAR Cup Series champion.
A redemption tour? Ready to go to work. Is this the face of a ruthless competitor or a villain?
I'm being your favorite driver.
Is it time for a breakthrough? Let's go! To get back to breaking stuff? Or is this the makings of the wildest ride you'll ever witness? It's all of the above, and it's about to go down.
Broadcasting live from the Hesselson studio. You're watching Frankly Speaking here on Big Fox. We have so many comments to get to, but I promised I'd put that up on the screen during our interview. ChemungCountyFair.com. That's ChemungCountyFair.com and ChemungCountyNY.gov/fair volunteer. If you want to volunteer for this year's Chemung County Fair, July 31st through August 3rd. And thank you again to Mark Watts for being our guest. All right, let's read through some comments that we received over the program so far. Frank, side note, today is the anniversary of the first battle of the Revolutionary War when the Redcoats attacked Lexington and Concord while trying to disarm the Patriots. Well, thank you for that. Here's another comment, completely different comment. Oh, we got another wave coming in. By allowing the left to do whatever they want between elections, we are showing support for them. I'm assuming that means the protests, right? Standing up against tyranny needs to be practiced between elections. us calling representatives is one way, but in the current media-controlled storm, the voice of the right and common sense gets overpowered. Well, that to the point that the one viewer made earlier on about Katie Couric, yes, issues for conservatives are being overlooked. And, I joked about it earlier, and we'll get to a comment on this. Everything is about either Mike Johnson being in trouble, Trump's trial, or Taylor Swift. Here's another comment. After speaking with my local police chief, he feels powerless to do anything about the pot issues. Yeah, I mean, I think Sheriff Allard has made that clear in the past on the program as well, that he said, basically, put me in, coach. I'll do the job of the Office of Cannabis Management that doesn't seem to be able to do anything. So it sounds like they're coming up with some type of plan. I don't know if it's the right avenue, but hopefully something gets done. Another comment, the final comment so far. Frank, come on, man. I know you want a third hour today to talk about Taylor Swift's new album, so let me be clear, don't. Don't. It's very Biden-esque. Don't. But the only thing is, if it was Biden-esque, I would then go on and talk an hour about Taylor Swift, because the don't isn't working when it comes to Biden. But I don't think I could fill an hour. That's not to knock that topic at all. I don't know. It just seems interesting to me, and I am not in any way critical of what other outlets decide to discuss or what is newsworthy. I'm sure that to many people is newsworthy, but at a time when Israel responds and hits back at Iran, at a time of so much conflict, of inflation and divide in this country, you name it, the laundry list can go on and on and on and on. Maybe they look at it, the other outlets look at it as an opportunity to distract and take your mind off of things for a while. That's not necessarily, I think, what the news is there for. But having said all that, I will not be focusing on that topic. Though you can always weigh in. If you want to comment, go ahead. So this was written by the New York Post editorial board, and I still think it's relevant. Even though we learned, this came out, I should say, written, before Governor Hochul made the announcement on the crackdown on retail theft. I don't know. Yes, they're throwing money at the problem. That's one way. I do think if it ends up being exactly that way, the charges being moved to felony if you attack a innocent retail worker, I think that's a move in the right direction. I think it's a good move. I don't know if that's enough to end this, and that's what the Post editorial board, again, this was written before that was announced, but vacant storefronts are both a sign and a cause of economic distress, and they've nearly doubled in the city since the pandemic. Per the City Department of Finance, I know this is New York City, but hear me out. It's because it's a much larger picture. As we talked about with Sheriff Allard, Monroe County, Steuben County, all these counties, Chemung, are dealing with this retail theft ring. In some instances, it's the individual. Some instances, I think Governor Hochul likes to point to it being an organized crime almost type gang activity. So then it's not as much blame is being put on the bail reform. But it's hard to keep a retail shop running when city and state lawmakers micromanage what you have to pay workers and how you can schedule shifts and even mandate benefits. Not to mention the high taxes they impose and the get-out-of-jail-free cards they issue to even chronic shoplifters. And we mentioned in the past, and I think I stole it, for lack of a better term, from the New York Post, but I could be wrong, that you could go to get arrested for shoplifting. As you are being let out on bail reform, because of bail reform, getting let out, you could say, hey, I think I'm going to go steal a suit for my eventual trial date. And there's nothing they could do. You could go steal that suit, and then you go through the process over and over again. So it is chronic shoplifters. And as Michael Goodwin said just the other day, if there's no consequences, how many of us would be tempted to rob a bank? Well, that's on a much lower level. That's what's happening here. There are no consequences, essentially, for these people that shoplift. One comment from City Councilwoman Gail Brewer was it was picky landlords about the storefronts. The empty storefronts. Well, as it's noted, landlords are so desperate for tenants amid these vacancies that it has opened the door to the hundreds of illegal cannabis shops sprouting up like mushrooms. Councilman Oswald Feliz said there's a Walgreens 1 minute away from where I live that's closing down due to retail theft. Anytime I speak to a small business, that is literally the very first issue they bring up. Yet, city and state lawmakers have worked overtime to hamstring the police, making cops personally liable if an incident goes wrong, and reforming, quote unquote, criminal justice to embolden the criminals. And that's how many times we've said that on this program. It's about coddling the criminals and tying the hands of police. They have made that very clear. I think it was just another example when Hasty said that penalties don't deter stricter penalties don't deter crime. I think that just shows the mindset. And we know the mindset in Albany, going back to the beginning or early days of bail reform. The speaker seems unconcerned that shoplifting costs retailers statewide in New York State. Shoplifting cost some $4.4 billion last year. Year after year, he leads the charge against even targeted tightening of the no bail law. This means Carl Hastie and other reforms. Now he even claims that increasing penalties doesn't deter crime. I guess I don't know what the answer is here, because at the political level, you would think Hastie would see it the way Hochul does, which Hochul, at least to her credit, says, I'm not going to do anything, but I want to make it look like I'm tough on crime. I'm tough on criminals, because she saw what Lee Zeldin did against her in that race. So there are these politicians thinking of it from a political mindset in Albany that realize it would be much better if they could go to their constituents and say they're doing something. But when you have Hastie being one of the three in the room, one of the three most powerful people in New York State, if this is his mindset, which it tends to be, it is, I don't see the changes coming anytime soon. I mean, he was the one that originally was going to fight moving that charge up to felony. It sounds like at least that was negotiated. In response, store owners limit customer entry and lock up the goods, even the toothpaste, alienating shoppers and hurting business. Yeah, at a local level, think about it. If you're going in and you got to ask for an assistant to come over to unlock for the toothpaste or the razor or whatever, at what point do you end up saying, I'm just going to go online and order them, destroying yet more small business? Official crime stats understate the problem, as despairing shopkeepers don't even bother to report crimes because they know they won't get punished even if the cops nab the person doing them. All while store staff who dare interfere risk harm or even indictment if the perp gets injured. New York needs a political climate change to one they'll support the law-abiding, welcome small business, and lock up criminals. So even though there was a minor change to retail theft, it is not, let's face it, it's not about the bigger picture bail reform. And as it has been stated, that the Hastie and others have no appetite for bail reform or for actually keeping the residents of New York safe. It should be their number one job. It is not their focus whatsoever. So, all right, keep those comments coming in. Oh, I did want to mention, we've got a couple of stories. I'm going to jump back to a little bit here about the Columbia protests, the arrested 108 protesters, Ilhan Omar's daughter, one of them, for trespassing. A couple of things here just to show you why that is troubling, and I think many of you, as you have commented this morning, understand how troubling it is. I've got a couple of quick things we're going to rush to. But before we go to this break, I know I've been promising it this all morning. I want to play this from, as we just get done talking about New York State politics, our friend Assemblyman Phil Palmisano, who I assure you will be on the program as soon as everything is settled with the budget so we can find out exactly what's going on. But this is something that's so important for Phil, and he's mentioned it on the show numerous times, and I thought this was just an amazing video. So I want to play it for you, and then we're going to take a short break. So here is the video I've been promoting all morning long.
Nationally right now, we have 103,000 people waiting for an organ transplant. But right here in New York State, we have nearly 8,000 New Yorkers waiting for an organ transplant. Nearly 1,100 have been waiting for more than 5 years. In New York, we have the third highest need for organ donors, but the third worst organ donor enrollment rate. Last year, unfortunately, we lost 400 New Yorkers waiting for a life-saving organ transplant. Mr. Speaker, my colleagues, this is unacceptable. We can and we must do better.
Immediately when they transplanted, he lit up, and his wife said, "We have a life." Imagine being hooked up several times a week to a machine for hours a day. There is no life. And I will tell everybody, I'm looking around the room, it's easy. I was out in less than 36 hours.
My wife Megan and I lost our son, Alexander John Smullen, or AJ, as his friends and family knew him, this past month. He passed away at Albany Medical Center on Wednesday, March 6th, right here in Albany, New York, at the age of 14, following a fierce fight in the pediatric ICU after being hit by a car in a tragic accident on Thursday, February 22nd, 2024. And one of the things that my wife and I have found solace in since his passing is this Donate Life program. You see, AJ gave the ultimate gift by participating in this life-saving program. And I am forever proud of my son for participating in this program and helping save what we think at this point is 5 lives, 5 families who have been affected. No parent ever wants to outlive their child, but if one must, then the Donate Life program is an incredible way to create some goodness out of tragedy.
Time for your next oil change? Are you too busy to do it yourself? Let the professionals at Quick Lube do it for you. With 2 locations better to serve you, Quick Lube makes it easy. Get your oil and filter changed and never leave the comfort of your vehicle. No appointment is needed. Just drive up and let Quick Lube do the rest. Keep your motor humming with Quick Lube on South Main Street in Elmira and Chemung Street in Horsehead.
Hi, and welcome everyone watching at home. We're here to remind you that we have agents standing by right now to answer your legal questions. So if you've been injured in an accident that was not your fault, call now. Find out if you have a case and how much is potentially worth. I'm Gina Bellich here with spokesman and TV personality Tom Mustin. So Tom, tell everyone watching at home who should call right now.
Well, Gina, first off, thank you for having me here in the studio. Now, as far as who should call in, the answer is anyone who's been injured in an accident that was not your fault should give us a call right now. Agents are standing by to answer any questions you may have and tell you how much your case is potentially worth.
Thanks, Tom. So what kind of calls are we seeing today?
Well, Gina, we're getting calls about all types of accidents, but the most common has been car accidents. So if you or someone you know were injured in an accident that was not your fault, take that first step and give us a call. We'll answer your questions and you'll find out if you have a case and how much it's potentially worth.
Thanks, Tom.
We are back with Frankly Speaking here on WYDC TV. Big Fox. I'm your host, Frank Agam. Where do we want to go from here? Oh, I do want to remind you this. It's not too late to get your tickets for tonight's big event with Bucky Dent. I'm looking at all these comments. I know, I'm distracted. But I wanted to mention that to you because it is not too late. 5:30 VIP meet and greet, 6:35 dinner. So call that number or email and be a part of the festivities tonight. A couple comments from viewers. Frankly, don't forget that it was the Biden administration that finally completed the Obama administration's goal of returning the billions of dollars of frozen monetary assets back to Iran. It's a great point, something we've been trying to bring up on the program. And if you're just joining us, if you're just waking up, Israel did hit back at Iran in a retaliatory strike last night, targeting nuclear research facility and a major air base. Another comment. A few years ago, we were at Walmart and watched a young man in the produce department taking the tags off a coat and putting it on and leaving the store. As he was walking out of the store, we informed a manager who said there was nothing he could do. We continued to shop, and as we were leaving, the young man was back in the store, ready to do more shopping with his new coat on. I think, well, I'm sure business owners could tell us a lot more, but I know we've all had instances where we've seen some scenarios that seem very, very quick. There's no punishment. I mean, first of all, a lot of times the shop owners don't dare do anything. They don't want anything to get aggressive. And then, as the Post piece had to say, if you're in the city, why keep calling? Why waste your time? You've got a job to do. You call the police get them, and there's no punishment. So you don't even report the crime any longer. That's how bad it's become. I think $4.4 billion is probably, last year alone, probably an understatement. I'm sure it'll only be worse this year. A couple of, I guess you would say not on a lighter note, on a good note though, Congressman Nick Langworthy announced for our friends in Woodhull nearly $5 million in funding for natural gas infrastructure improvement. According to the congressman, quote, I am proud to announce the significant $4.9 million investment to replace miles of Woodhull's natural gas pipelines. Recent federal reports have uncovered our state's failing natural gas infrastructure. Yet Governor Hochul and other leaders in our state chose to ignore that New Yorkers are at risk of losing access to reliable, affordable energy. This investment will ensure that Woodhull residents have the energy security they deserve, safeguarding their access to natural gas for generations to come. And on top of that, said a little bit differently here, but Congressman Langworthy announced $9.3 million in funding for natural gas infrastructure improvements in Bath, saying that he's proud, of course, to announce it. I actually think I put that up on the screen, but I knew it was going to do that, so let's just do this. Boom. I'm proud to announce this significant $9.3 million investment to make critical improvements to Bath's natural gas infrastructure. While Governor Hochul chooses to ignore federal reports that our state's natural gas pipelines are on the brink of failure, the people of Western New York and the Southern Tier need reliable access to affordable energy now more than ever. This investment will fortify our infrastructure and guarantee families and businesses in Bath a stable and secure energy supply for generations to come. So I wanted to pass that along to you as we take another break. Oh, let me get that off the screen. Well, let me mention this too, because Village of Bath Mayor Michael Sweet, if you recall, he was on the program kind of in the early days. He said, I want to thank Congressman Langworthy for bringing the substantial $9 million grant home for our village's natural gas utility here in Bath. These funds are critical to advancing and reinvesting in our infrastructure so we can continue delivering safe, reliable, and affordable natural gas to homes and businesses across our community. Congressman Langworthy and I have both been vocal advocates for protecting our ratepayers while promoting American energy and natural gas in the Southern Tier. So there you are, passing that along to you. Some very local issues for our friends in Woodhull and in Bath. When we come back, we're going to wrap up on every topic you can think of that we haven't got to quite yet that is worth mentioning. If you have any last-minute comments, please do. Please reach out now so I can get to them before we wrap up this week's edition. I can't believe how fast did this week go. We had some great guests. We had a good time, as we always do. So enough of me blabbing on. Let's take that last break of this hour. Please stay with us.
Looks like y'all got a lot of stuff here in your water.
You're never going to believe it, but this can filter up to 60 different contaminants from your water.
It's all about cleaner drinking water.
Dude, that's good water.
And that's good water.
Now that's good water.
That's good water, eh?
No matter where you live, there's a Culligan water expert nearby. At Culligan, we think about your water, so you don't have to.
Call today to schedule your free water test.
Drivers change lanes very fast, but with no outside mirrors. How come they don't crash? Introducing Angel View, the new wide-angle mirror that reduces blind spots. Angel View simply snaps over your car's rear view mirror, giving you a 160-degree view behind you. Just look at the difference. Look, ordinary rear view mirrors are small and flat, but Angel View has a huge mirror with curved glass. This convex shape allows you to see both blind spots with one glance. And with our Pro Edition special coating, it's anti-glare at night. Get your Angel View now for just $19.99. But wait, Angel View may be discontinued. Due to rising costs, Angel View is stopping manufacturing effective immediately. Once the current inventory is gone, it's gone forever. Order now.
Call 1-800-897-0371 or visit getangelview.com.
Welcome back to Frankly Speaking here on WYDC TV Big Fox. I am your host, Frank Aiken. We are broadcasting live from the Hesselson studio here on Marcus Street in Corning. And what a fun show we've had this morning. Not always the best topics, but we've covered as much as I think we possibly could in 2 hours. And I want to thank all of you for all the great comments. And I hope to see you tonight at the Elmira Pioneers Hot Stove Dinner with Bucky Dent. There's all the information you need to know. Okay, I just want to say that one more time. Just as to piggyback off something we really talked about extensively in the 6 o'clock hour, which was the protests at Columbia, this anti-Semitism that we're seeing on college campuses, we're seeing in Washington. Listen to this. According to the Anti-Defamation League, the ADL found in New York City alone, hate crimes surged, anti-Semitic hate crimes surged 45% this year. 45%. They found that 8,873 reported incidents of assault, vandalism, and harassment against Jews in 2023. That was, last year, a jump of 140%. It's the highest level recorded since ADL started tracking the data in 1979. And that's just what's been tracked and recorded. Imagine how many hateful incidents go unreported. More than half these incidents, 5,204, took place after the Hamas attack on Israel on October 7th, when supposed support for Palestine quickly turned into ugly attacks on Jews. Campuses across America were hotbeds of hate. Anti-Semitic activity at colleges and universities jumped 321% from 2022, fueled by leftist ideology that paints Jews as oppressive colonizers. And that's what's being taught. And then we wonder why we're seeing this anti-Semitism creeping into so many aspects and institutions. Okay, couple quick things. Well, there is a piece. Cal Thomas writes, instead of pushing regime change in Israel, Biden should support it in Iran. Good point. All right, not to terrify you on the way out, FBI Director Christopher Wray warns Chinese hackers are lying in wait to attack the U.S. infrastructure. We have talked about this on the program so often. We talked about the real threat of China, Russia, and Iran, and China having these capabilities through hacking. It's something as simple as shutting down major sewage plants. You don't think of something like that, but imagine a hack there, of different entities like that. The PRC, People's Republic of China, has made it clear that it considers every sector that makes our society run as fair game in its bid to dominate on the world stage, said Wray. He said the threat is upon us now. China's plan is to land low blows against civilian infrastructure to try to induce panic and break America's will to resist. It's not terrifying? The FBI director surmised much of the cyber burrowing by the Chinese Communist Party stemmed from its aspirations to wealth and power. Yeah, I think a lot of it has to do with them wanting to be a world superpower. Sorry, just saw a comment that I wanted to get to, and I'm glad that it came through. But specifically, Ray suggested China is interested in having countermeasures in place for a crisis between China and Taiwan by 2027. Yeah, so the idea is if they have all that power over us and they take over Taiwan, which I believe, unfortunately, will be before 2027, they do that. And are we going to resist if all of a sudden a couple sewage plants go down or electric grid, whatever the case may be? And do we have, and I ask you this question, not to go out the door this way, but I'd ask the question, when you see people addicted to their phones and things like that, what would the streets look like if we didn't have power, if we didn't have use of our phone for even a short period of time? Would we be able to handle it? Would we lose our will to fight? We had that story the other day where, are we ready to fight, heaven forbid? One last comment before we leave. So Nick Langworthy is getting $9.3 million to upgrade the Bath area natural gas infrastructure. But what about Governor Hochul's plan to switch over everyone in New York State to electric? I applaud him for that, but isn't it contradictory to our plans? I think there may be a little bit of that, but in a good way. I think it may be hey, this infrastructure works. It's going to be needed until the supposed electric shift. So let's get it upgraded, because I think many of us agree the grid is not going to be there in the time frame that they want. So I think it's just a little bit maybe to draw attention to that as well. So anyway, we've got to take a break. We got to end the show. Oh my goodness, we are out of time. Thank you to everybody who joined us this morning. Thank you to Mark Watts from the Chemung County Fair. Thank you to you for all the comments and suggestions. I really appreciate it. I hope you have a great, fun weekend, and we'll be back Monday morning with Frankly Speaking right here at WYDC TV Big Fox starting at 6 a.m. We'll see you then.
The Fox Sports app isn't just any sports app. It's your sports app. Yeah, yours. Your teams. Your highlights. Your scores. Your stories. Just choose your favorites to get more of what you want. To the end zone! And of course, stream your teams live. The best part, it's free with your pay TV subscription.